Here it is for you guys. Enjoy.
Welcome to We the Thunder. I'm here with the Stash.
Want the mustache ride?
And Thomas Scully. Prepare to be schooled. We are coming at you Monday night after another week of Bolts hockey. 3 games to break down. The end of the West Coast road trip. And plenty of Lightning action to talk about. We're bringing back the challenge. And don't forget, if you tuned in last week, we've got a brand new after show. That's right. We're going to overtime after every show. So you can come join us on YouTube. All right, guys. Where do we start first? Any comments? How was your week, guys?
Busy, but good.
Up late every night. Yeah.
Late nights.
Some late nights. Yeah. There was a lot of people, a lot of Bolts fans staying up late for these games too, at least on Twitter.
And then April, who's occasionally on here, her and I went to the airport when they came back from Vegas at 6:20 in the morning. We were the only two there to welcome them back.
Fucking animal, dude.
but it was good. Nigel stopped and talked to us for a little bit, but yeah, so kudos to April for sticking it in there. We both were like, if you'll do it, I'll go. So we both agreed to go ahead and go.
Any extra honks or just the Nigel stop by?
No, I mean Vasi's been honking, Sergey honked, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, he rolled down his window and said, "Thanks for coming, guys." Stammer honked. So it was cool. And Foot's girlfriend picked him up, and I yelled, "Good job," to him, and he waved and said, "Thank you." So
Foot has been on display lately.
Great audition. Right.
Not just on the ice, getting his ice numbers up, but also like they're putting him out for some interviews. Like, hey, you want a guy like this? He can speak to the media.
It's funny because the same thing, we've talked about maybe names being also, and look, ever since the talk is that he could be on the block, he starts scoring, and it's like, come on, keep your value going up. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, think about it. How often we do that when it's like, okay, we talked about that third line and not scoring, and Sorelli, and then they go on a tear, and then we talk about Nemestikov being, perhaps trade bait or Foot, both. And minutes and production out of both of those guys. So once again, people may say don't talk about the team and the players, but anytime we call somebody out, they end up responding pretty well, whether they hear us or not. There's something about the energy we put out in the universe. They respond.
They figured if these 3 fools figured it out, then the rest of everybody else has too.
So by the end of the episode, we have to have a consensus on which player is just going to dominate for the next 7 days.
Or need
4 games over the next 7 days. So
finally back home.
Yeah, back home for a couple of them, and then back on the road.
The red, basically the only home games we have the rest of this month.
Yeah. Tomorrow I got a meet and greet, so I'm excited to find out who it is. And
it's gonna be Foot.
Nope, he's already had his.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot we were talking about last week.
Vladdy's had his. He had his. Bogo's had his. So I think Bellemare had his. So go ahead and give me someone else. I think Colton had his. Paul's had his too. I would have took his. That would have been fine, but. It'd be great if it's one of those 2 brothers that Stash got the pucks for there, Hagel or Point. I'll be okay with one of those.
Hey man, I gotta say I was pretty happy because a lot of people were talking about their mystery pucks, and they were getting like Foot and Fleury and Bogo and I was like partly like, oh man, not to be shitty, but like these are my very first signed pucks ever, so I'm hoping for at least one heavy hitter, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, okay, so I don't want to get one of these, but then but they're already getting them, right? So people are already talking about, they've already got them. So maybe that's already made it in favor of me. And sure as shit, they came, I think Friday, and yeah, it was Point and Hagel. So, and the first one I opened, it was like fucking Charlie in the Chocolate Factory with the golden. I barely opened it, and it just I saw the Aiden, and I was like, yes, freaking pointer. So like whichever one I got for that, I was like, okay, cool. Even if I do get maybe not a flurry or a
Could have
foot,
got bathroom Becky. You would have been happy with.
that would have gone in the toilet like a urinal cake. Anyways,
doesn't clean the toilet though.
yeah, well,
Just a puff.
but yeah, so the fact that it was Hagel was pretty dope. So. Yeah.
And then right now they are doing a contest. If you guys download the new Lightning app, not the old NHL one, download the new Lightning app. They are doing a little spin the wheel contest where you can win trading cards that are the retro reverse trading cards, and some of them are autographed, or you get registered in the grand prize, which is for a jersey.
Nice.
Well, let's get to some of these games. By the way, if anyone's tuning in to see Mr. Jay Retcher, he is rescheduled for later in the season. So stay tuned for when we'll have Jay back on the show. But plenty of hockey to talk about. Going back to the Dallas game when the road game or this road trip started, the Lightning have gotten 5 out of 8 possible points. So got to imagine they're okay with the results there. So again, that goes back to the Dallas game. We talked about that Dallas game last week. Thomas Cooley was at that Dallas game. But it was February 14th, Valentine's Day in Denver, that the Bolts kicked off the last week. And I don't know if you guys were listening for Dave's, code that we gave him, but I don't think he said it.
No, he didn't.
It's all right. That was the game within the game. I think he can use that at any time. I mean, it doesn't have to be Valentine's Day, but it was fitting. It was ready for
it. It was, yeah. I put it on a platter for him, but hey,
Well, remember, it was supposed to be if there was a bad call, he was supposed to say, "Well, ain't that a bouquet of roses?" Yeah, and there wasn't really any like horrible calls.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, he could have used it in the Vegas game, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
All right. So the Avs score in the first minute of the game. And then
50 seconds. At 50 seconds, Lehkonen. Yeah.
Whips it past him.
Yeah.
Which, Vasi didn't let in any goals, a week before when the Avalanche were at Amalie. So they turned the tables real quick after that. And then they scored another one. And then we had a 2-0 lead for the Avs early in that game, but the Bolts bounced back as they did all game. Point to Killer with a beautiful goal. We did see a Killer fight in this game. But Stash, any comments on Killer dropping the gloves?
I mean, he'll do it when he needs to, and I think he's feeling a little bit more feisty this season because he's kind of healthy. He's feeling like a Stamkos, so he's feeling probably all the way healthy back from that broken leg, and some of the other stuff he was about. So yeah, I mean, he's been that third line. We talked about it coming into this week. Hagel, Cirelli, Killorn. They're really playing good hockey, and they're starting to feel more physical. Cirelli was pretty fiery, also, in this game.
But Killorn did not have a goal that game.
No, it was Cooch. Yeah, I was gonna correct you.
I went and double checked because I was like, wait a minute.
I was looking at it. I was
Killers doesn't make much sense. They don't play on the same line.
Yeah, no, it was
passed.
Yeah.
Cirelli did score though shortly after that, and then Colorado came right back and scored another one on Lightning. Had kind of a bad line change there, and then we talked about him, Vladdy, with the beautiful deke and dive. The deke and dive, Vladdy, who's your daddy, and that one tied it at 3. So after kind of chasing Colorado all game, that one is the one that tied it up. They go to overtime. nothing really happened for the Bolts in overtime, but as they go to the shootout, Stamkos scores and Vasi doesn't let any goals in, and Lightning get the win, 4-3 shootout win.
This game did not look
Yeah.
like it was going to be a Bolts win.
Not in the first two.
No, it was looking really ugly.
Yeah.
Colorado was very fast, and it just seemed like everything was going Colorado's way. And then
it was that second period. At the end of the second period, you brought it up earlier, Shooter. It was that fight that Killer had. And then, halfway through that period, that's when Cooch got that goal. And it was a beautiful play. That's the other thing. It was a great play. It was a break. It was a 2-on-1. It was a great play. Cooch put it in from point. And after that, they started playing a little bit better. And at the end of the period, Killer had that fight, and then Perry had a great chance, almost scored. And that gave them some momentum going into the third period. And then Cirelli came out, and he scored 26 seconds into the third. And that tied the game up.
On a different line, he was on the
different, right? Yeah, and he was on it was Stamkos, and yeah. So then the other thing I noticed kind of in these games, this game, and then we'll talk about it, in the game against the Vegas, but kind of these rebound goals. They came back and they tied it there with Cirelli, and then only a minute and a half later they gave up the go-ahead goal again. And to me, that's still the thing that this team has to clean up. And we'll talk about it because it happened a lot more in the Vegas game. But then, Vladdy came through pretty clutch. It was about 4 minutes left 4 minutes into the third period with that beautiful goal. And then it was pretty tight going through the rest of the third. And then in overtime, Colorado kind of really controlled the overtime period. And I was kind of surprised that the Bolts were able to get out of that and get to the shootout.
Well, Colorado did commit a penalty there at the beginning of it,
right? And
but they didn't get called, and then at the very end, they finally do get called with 18 seconds left or something like that.
Yes.
But Colorado completely controlled that overtime. We barely had the puck at all, and couldn't. And I was shocked that they didn't get it in.
Yeah.
The power play looked pretty bad that game. And, the one thing I noticed, and this is a theme through this road trip, maybe not in Dallas, but I heard this effect when the Lightning were on the power play and could not score. So this was like burnt in my head.
Oh, I know.
That's the sound they play over and over again in that game of us on power plays. But what I was wondering is if we score, will they play this sound effect? The dead Mario.
Yeah, they should.
Since they play like the power up Mario.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
anyways, and I think it's interesting as a road trip went on, the second power play started getting less and less ice time. And I still think that's, I know you want your best guys on the ice as much as possible, but I still question that because how many times have we seen? I mean, look at Corey Perry right now. All his goals, most of them, he leads the team in power play goals. I mean, that's where he's scoring right now. That's what he's doing. He's mostly been productive on the power play. So I don't understand why he goes and serves. I mean, I understand why he doesn't necessarily, play the penalty kill. So I don't mind him serving the penalties. But I don't understand why that line out there isn't getting a little bit more ice time whenever the power play struggles.
I think that's why they're not getting it. I think Coop wants that first team to come out of this struggle and get over their struggle and get it together before we hit those playoffs.
Well, I think he wants fucking points more than that. So, I mean, I don't know. You can't have your fucking cake and eat it too sometimes.
Although against West teams, and we've heard this before, those points aren't as important as they are against the East teams because it's really a 4-point swing when you go to the East. I mean, yes, you still want points. You still want to get those. What do they say? You want more points than you do games. So, but it would be the time to test some things out is going against those West teams. But we also was Chernak out that game? No, Chernak played that game.
No, Chernak's
No.
I think did he get hurt in the Arizona game, or
No,
was he out for the Arizona game? I forget, but he's been out the last 2 games.
Yeah, he played in that game. And he was...
So yeah, on to Arizona the next night, back to back. So since Fassi played in Denver, you've got Moose in net, and even though he didn't face as many shots as the goalie on the other end, Moose did a good job of not allowing Arizona to score in regular time. Now, they had less shots, but they had some really good scoring chances compared to the Lightning, who had 47 shots on net. That's a record for a goalie's first shutout.
Yeah.
And that goalie used to play on the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Little Connor Ingram. Yeah.
Connor Ingram.
Little Connor.
He's been hot lately for Arizona.
He was traded for a 7th round pick to Nashville. Then he had some, I believe it was mental issues or alcohol issues. And now has found his way over to Arizona, and kudos to him because he's had some demons that he's had to fight. So good for him to get that out of there, but sucks that it was against us.
Yeah. It's funny. Fun fact. The goalie that had that record before, the most saves in the first ever shutout, 46 saves, also by previously a Coyotes goalie. I can't pronounce the name. It's like from way back when, but it's all, funny enough, crazy that it's always these teams that suck that have these kind of weird arbitrary records.
And Chernak did not play in the Arizona game. Fleury was in. And I think we saw the return of Perbix too.
Yes.
For that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not much offense. The Lightning had a ton of shots the first 2 periods, kind of slowed it down the third period, second game of the back-to-back, and couldn't get it done in overtime. They also didn't have much possession in this overtime either. And then shootout looked a lot like the night before. Stamkos with the lone goal.
Can anyone but Stamkos score on a shootout lately?
It's a strange thing about this team. I feel like our shooters and shootouts are not that good, which is crazy for how talented a team we are. Like, I feel like Cooch hasn't scored in a while. Braden Point usually has the same approach and comes in really fast and shoots, and didn't score in that Arizona or Denver game. It's been Stamkos, the funny thing about Stamkos's shootout shot is like all these goalies have to know what's coming. He's just trying to get you to move a little bit over so he can paint that top left corner.
Yeah.
And it works. It works every time. At least this last week it did.
6% of the time works every time. Yeah. And once again, 0 for 5 on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the power play on the road has been a real issue.
If you look at it, it's 5, 9, 12, 1 for 12 in the last 3 games this week.
And I thought Arizona played our power play really good. They really attacked our guys. And when you saw the interview with Vegas's coach, who we were going in to play next, he said, "We've seen some weaknesses." And I think that was one of the weaknesses because they attacked our power play unit just as much as Arizona did when we were on the power play.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a while. When the way to beat this Lightning power play is to take away their space.
Yep.
Because then they get a little bit too frantic, and then they just kind of like start putting the pucks in places instead of actually making passes and plays. And so,
and those places end up on the other team's stick.
Yeah. A lot of times. So, and then, a lot of times I think that this team, it's weird because they're kind of built and get points on a lot of their points and opportunities off the cycle, but then they get out of that game a lot of times and they forget about that. And they're always trying to like pass it into the net. And I thought they were doing a lot of that in this game on the power play, is trying to pass it into the net and trying to like, oh, it's such a, this has worked so many times, getting it to point right there in front of their net. Well, you tried it 8 times in a row and it didn't work. Are you just going to keep trying it until eventually it goes in on the 1,000th try? Or are you going to try and maybe get a little cycle going, get those guys moving when they're pressuring you? You need to start moving in a pattern that your guys are going to be predictable and put them out of position. That's the only way you're going to be effective against that. When they come and put pressure on you, take your space, is that you need to move and make them follow you instead of being stationary and let them come and attack you and take away your space. So, I that's why it seemed like that was the same thing over and over again on the power play with this game against the Coyotes.
And I was wrong. This was the game that the penalty was called with 11 seconds left in overtime. It was not against Colorado. It was against Arizona.
It was Arizona, and there was like 2 really egregious plays early on in the overtime that they did not call on both ends, one in our own end and one in their end. And then finally they called it, and it was like on a breakaway from Hagel or a little bit of a break, and it was a hook with like 11 seconds left. And then I'm like, oh, now you guys, like, what was the point of even calling that? You know what I mean? If you weren't going to call the other ones, why did you call that? It was pretty lame. And then this is the one. Oh no, that's the Vegas game.
This is in Arizona. I heard this. This is the theme of the road trip. I don't know what they played that for, but I heard that. And then going on to Vegas,
I'm wondering if it's Bally doing it.
No, it's in the arena.
Is it in the arena?
Like our arena is the only one that doesn't play Mario effects because as soon as we got to Vegas, the first thing I heard was,
yeah, it's true. But I was gonna say though, Elliott, shout out to Elliott. Yeah, Connor had 47 saves, but Elliott had his shutout as well. And he played really great in that game. I mean, he's not a shootout guy. He only had 26 saves, but it was a shutout for him. And yeah, he looked kind of tired or suspect in the shootout. I'm not gonna lie, but
that's one of the things I noticed. Some people didn't realize is that both teams' goalies got a shutout, and in a shootout, that goal doesn't actually count for stats. So it only counts for the win
or the goalie, right?
Right. So both goalies got the shutout on that.
Yeah. And I thought that they played well in the first 2 periods, and then they were really tired in that third period finally. And coming off the back-to-back in the late night in Colorado and late playing and getting in early and all that, like they finally looked a little bit less aggressive and a little more tired in that third period. So, and
to
then
me, the theme of this road trip was missed nets. They have been shooting wide and over the net a lot.
Right onto that Vegas game. Yeah, because none more so than egregious than that Vegas game. It was ridiculous. They had 20 some odd shots, missed the net.
Yeah, it was, this whole road trip was horrendous on missed shots, and I'm like,
and Cooper flat out said that's straight up execution. There's nothing else you can't. I mean, that's just you not taking the time to make sure that you're putting the puck on the net, And I still think that this team was doing less and less of a good job of possessing the puck in the offensive zone, and they're getting guilty of one and done opportunities, coming in and trying to make a great play and scoring on a play instead of getting down there, getting possession and creating scoring chances. That's when this team is their best, and when they're the most challenging to play against is when they're cycling and they are possessing the puck for long periods of time in the opponent's offensive zone or defensive zone.
Well, I thought Vegas, they were going to play like first 1 to 10 wins. 6 goals in the first period.
A really crazy penalty against Stamkos with that stick thing, right?
Yeah.
And then the challenge with the high stick. That Marchand touched the puck with the high stick before he put it in the net, and I thought it was pretty obvious that it was a high stick when he touched it. Not that it wasn't going into the goal. It was that he was playing it in the play of in the arena or in the play of ice play, whatever. What I don't know. I'm trying to say, but in the field of play, to be able to gain control, that's a high stick. That's a stoppage. If it's a deflection, it's the crossbar. If it's in play, it's the shoulder, and it was above the shoulder, clearly.
Yeah, we did talk to Nigel about that at the airport, and he said for sure they still believe it was a high stick, and I was like, we do too.
I mean,
there's been some tweets that have come out that plainly show what we saw on TV in between the two refs. And it's up there. I don't know what they're talking about. So
it drew it. It's right here. It's tough to tell because we got the logo up there, but the puck is on the stick, and there's a line where the shoulder is. It's above.
Yes, it's above the line.
So
it's above the line.
I mean, it didn't really matter because well, I guess maybe it did because
it did.
One goal short. Lost the game 5-4. And we were one goal short all night, it seemed like, because they were going back and forth.
Again.
First period. Domestikov with a big tip. I like it. He's heating big up. Energy. Cirelli, I thought got a concussion in this game, but I guess came back. That was a crazy play. I didn't see who it was that helped him get go head first into the post, but. Some scary moments for Cirelli there, but he came back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this is what I was talking about earlier too. Is, I mean, Vladdy gets that goal, and then 7 seconds later, on the very first face-off, in a ridiculous breakdown in defense, coming back into their own zone, and bing, bang, boom, Vladdy nothing he can do, and there they go, boom, and they tie the game up. And then Stammer scores, and barely a minute later, they come back and they score another goal there, and then the two late goals. I mean, that's, those were the suspect goals. And again, the one from Theodore, man, that was such a leaky goal. Like, that's not something Vasi usually does. 3 of these goals, actually, at least of the goals, were very fluky goals that something the Vasi doesn't normally let happen. So
wasn't his best game, but he still had some incredible saves too.
And then in the third, they just didn't really. I don't think they really came out in the third. I mean, it was very much, they got that goal in the second period. I thought that they played very well in the second period. In fact, they deserved more than just the one goal, but they came out with only the one goal from Perry early in that period. And then, there's just nothing in the tank in the third period for them. It just didn't seem, and
the only good thing that came out of it is Belly getting his 4th goal this season.
Yeah. So 5 points out of 8 on this road trip, a tough road trip. So I think they'll take that, but a lot of sloppy play, a lot of inconsistencies, whether it's breakdowns in the defensive zone, whether it's a bad line change leading to a goal. I think the good news is a lot of these issues they can kind of identify. Nigel will identify that on video, and they'll be able to address these as they come down to the stretch here and approach the playoffs, which brings us to, once again, the East getting stronger and strong. Every week we do a show, we're talking about one team that's just beefing up their lineup here. And this week it's Toronto with Ryan O'Reilly as the centerpiece in the 3-team trade. They gave up a lot for him, but Toronto is going for that second round this year like you wouldn't believe.
How?
What do you guys think?
I'm more impressed with Achari than I am with O'Reilly. O'Reilly's not going to be going to be part of your top 6. The only thing he's really going to bring to that team is going to be playoff experience, and maybe some leadership in that locker room. But other than that, nothing.
He's not playing defense, and he doesn't play goaltender. So did they really fix any of the things that keep them from moving forward in the playoffs? No, they didn't. They continue to not fill the needs that are going to get them through the first round, especially when they're playing a team like the Lightning. You're not, if you don't have a goalie that can stand up night in, night out against Vasilevsky, you've got no chance. That's first and foremost, right? You got to have at least one of those guys. So,
well, I mean, you got to give like Ryan O'Reilly, tough, gritty player, can get on the scoreboard as well. Thomas mentioned he's got that playoff experience.
Stanley Cup. His name's on the cup.
Yeah, I mean,
priceless experience that Toronto
and you're not
doesn't
wrong
necessarily have on that roster. So, I don't know. You never know how these trades are going to work out, but they gave up a lot for him, so they are all in, as well as a lot of these other teams.
Kyle said he's very good at face-offs.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a bottom six guy, so I mean, how many times is he going to be out there in pivotal face-off moments?
The intangibles. Remember those third lines on our cup runs? I mean, how important they were. So, I mean, you're not wrong. That's going to help, but to your point, they probably should have gone defense.
Yeah. So,
and then you had the Rangers do that another trade yesterday.
Who'd they get yesterday? I know they got Tarasenko,
and then yesterday they got, who did they get yesterday? If anybody knows in chat, go ahead and say it before I
think we got 1 week left. It's the end of this month, right?
Yeah. March 6th, I think. I just had it up. March
13th.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, it's in the middle of the month.
Yeah, it's like 13th. Because I was like, I remember in November, I'm like, no, dumbass, you're getting confused.
So
NFL, yeah.
Still got some time, but it seems like there's a major move every week now. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens with some of these other guys that are out there. Carlson seems to be the other like massive name in play. I guess Patrick Kane still.
March 3rd. March 3rd is
the 3rd. Okay, I know it's the 13th or the 3rd. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, March 3rd.
There's a 3 in there somewhere.
Is that a 9er in there?
So yeah, you guys aren't worried. Toronto, first round collision course with us. Looks like it's happening.
Yeah.
Gene's in the chat. He's ready to start his Puck What You Heard podcast.
Kyle's talking about Chychrun, and I guess there's some bad shit coming out there in Arizona, talking about how that there's reports that they kind of are tanking in spite of what Bettman has just said, and how they're turning down. They're not willing to take on the salary suddenly for these trades, and that's kind of why Chychrun is still sitting there. Because, I mean, what I don't understand, he's only got a $4.5 million cap hit. Like, that's still a freaking bargain for him. And most of the teams that are in, these spots to make a run, I think can make a $4.5 million cap hit work. But it is unusual for Arizona not to take on salary, because traditionally that's what they do. And they have like $18 million in cap space. So, I mean, it's not like they're up against it like anybody else is. And if you really are tanking, why wouldn't you go ahead and train these guys and go ahead and take a little bit of cap? Because you're still like 2 or 3 seasons away from really being able to build on these draft picks that you're getting here in the next 2 and 3 seasons. You're 4 or 5 years away from those guys making impacts.
And they're not playing them. They're sitting them out.
Exactly. So,
Tyler Mott is the one the Rangers got.
Yes, he went back to the Rangers. Thank you.
Yeah,
I knew that. Yeah,
first player that's been traded to the same team twice in 1 year, 1 calendar year, or something like that.
Yeah,
because one way to do it.
Yeah.
So, and once again, I mean, that guy. There's a reason the Lightning passed on him, because he was kind of on the trade mill last year, right? Or the free agency mill, right? Last year.
He was rumored to be coming here last year,
be coming here. And we went out and made the move for Hagel instead, and Paul. So, it's funny because we still have 2 weeks now then till the trade deadline. So we get to sit here patiently and wait
Yeah, and
until the last 24 hours when Julian Breezeball swoops in. And
there's been a lot of
does his
injuries too,
magic.
so you're starting to see some of these big names getting pulled off.
Yeah.
Patrick Kane Chicago has basically said we're not trading him now. So all these teams that thought they were going to be in the running for some of these players are now getting injuries because Tays came out yesterday. He's having medical issues and will be out for a while. So
from long-term COVID complications.
So
he's been trying to play through it, but it's become too much for him, and he realized he had to take a step away and try and go get healthy. So who knows?
So me as a GM, I want to go get that guy now. I want to go get that guy now because you're seeing this where it's like 3 or 4 teams now in the last couple of days that have came out and said they're not going anywhere. This person ain't going nowhere. They're not trading now because of either A, they're in the hunt for the playoffs all of a sudden, or B, they've had injuries and they're going to keep them. So I did see that, and I know Ramsdorf said don't really read into it, but I did see that today the Lightning's assistant GM and another scout of the Lightning was at the Senators Bruins game tonight. So they actually had 2 representatives at the Sens Bruins game tonight.
Yeah. Well, who are we talking to? Say they kind of have Randorf was saying they kind of have guys at every game. So
right, but I guess the AGM being there is a little bit different. I know I was reading a couple of different rumors today about who the Lightning can be looking at, and the targets that some of these are doing is Gregor from the San Jose Sharks, Janot from the Predators, Borgen from the Kraken, Hathaway from the Capitals, McCabe from the Blackhawks, and Lafferty from the Blackhawks seem to be the ones that they're saying is on the Lightning's radar.
Yeah.
And they're kind of cheap.
Let's see.
You guys know whose birthday it is today?
Yeah, Phil Espo.
Espo's birthday.
The founder.
February 20th. He's 81 years old. The founder, the first GM, the man who put Tampa Bay hockey on the map. And guess what? He has officially or will officially be inducted into the Tampa Bay Lightning Hall of Fame March 17th. Thomas Schooley, is there any players that will not be there from Lightning history?
So the actual game is going to be on the 18th. That's when they'll actually put it up in that thing. They do have a ceremony going on the 17th.
What does that mean? Are we invited to the ceremony, or we got to wait for the game?
Well, you got to pay for the ceremony, and then pay for the game too.
Is there a Groupon?
So, no Groupon. You can use the SeatGeek code for the game
if you haven't used SeatGeek before,
right? So, real quick, here's a rundown of players that are going to be here that whole weekend. You got Andrechuk, Canucka, Bishop, Kontos, Boyle, both Boyles, Cabina, LeCavier, Bradley, Lukowicz, Callie, Malone, Ciccone, Modine, Creighton, Prospel, Terry Chris, Pupa, Colin, Purcell, Cullimore, Rollo, Dingman. Maybe we can get Dingman back on. Wall, Espo, St. Louis, Fedotenko, Sador, Goran, Taylor, Garrison, Jason Garrison. Whoever thought he would be coming back here for something? Eisenberg, Hall, Zamaner, and Jablonski.
I said who's not coming. That's a shorter list.
Exactly.
Nabokov.
Will there be any seats left for just regular civilians?
Yep.
There's no Richards. I feel like it's weird that Brad Richards never comes back for any of these things.
Yeah.
I know he
yeah.
went and played with other teams and like in Chicago and won, but like I still feel I don't know. It's weird.
Some people don't like it here.
I feel like he played his best hockey here.
Let them stay away.
Yeah, his best years.
Have you seen the traffic lately?
I mean, he won the Conn Smythe before. So, anyways.
He did.
Anyways.
Listen, we talked about Dingman coming back for this back when we had him on the show last year. We said, would you be interested? And he said, get Mr. Vinnick to bring me down there. I'll be down there. And then sure enough, he comes. And of course, they had to do it because they already said Marty and Vinny would be the first two inducted into the Hall of Fame. And the third one was a vote. And I think it was a runaway with Phil Esposito. But Montreal comes here on the 18th. So they had to do it the night before because Vinny and Marty are both part of Montreal now.
So will it be at the arena?
It doesn't say. It's general admission. It doesn't say where it is. I got my tickets.
It's at Tropicana Field.
Yeah. I don't care.
Fairgrounds.
I don't care where it's at. I think it is going to be at Tropicana. I think it is going to be at the Emily. I don't know. I just saw the tickets went on sale for season ticket members, and you could get 6 of them, so I grabbed them. Yeah, Emily Arena.
So Phil Esposito, Marty
Lightning,
Vinny LeCavier. That's
Lightning Hall of Fame.
You got it right? That's the first 3 in.
For sure. And I don't
Lightning
care what
Hall
everyone...
of Fame introduction ceremony, 7:30 p.m., which is weird because the announcement they came out said 5 o'clock.
Uh-oh. Contradictory information.
Well, stay tuned. We'll have some more.
And anybody out there that says that St. Louis doesn't belong, only the way he left. Okay. I think just from the way I said that, you know where I stand.
I thought we were gonna get like a hot take.
No, I mean I think I've made it pretty clear over the years where I stand on St. Louis and all those people that want to try and make it personal whenever, you know, he had to make a personal decision himself, you know, like he didn't come to your house and spit in your face and say, you suck and I hate the Tampa Bay Lightning, you know. Some shit happened off the ice and he had to deal with it, and he did it the best way he knew how. You know, he's always been a class act when he came back here. Well, he's always been a class act when he's come back here. He's always been classy when he talks about the organization, and he's never been disrespectful towards this team.
Hey, we need someone to play the challenge. So I'll put a number in the chat. If anyone wants to repeat that number, you will be selected to represent the Thunder in our 4-game little trivia here. So press number 88 to play. So Serena, I see you out there. Everyone else is pretty quiet tonight, but we do need another player.
So the email does says it starts at 5, but the tickets say doors open at 7, ceremony at 7:30. So I don't know.
That's weird.
Nobody knows.
Wow, no. That is weird. That's so weird. That's so
can't start. You can't start at 5. No one will be there.
You can't start a fire.
We can be there at 5 o'clock on the weekday. It's not possible.
Well, a lot of people were bitching about because it was a Friday and it was a 5 o'clock, and people were like, "Are you kidding me?"
Bad enough. It's 7 o'clock games these days. 5 o'clock ceremonies on the weekdays. They're not work.
You became Irish all of a sudden. Serena, press 88 so that you'll play.
We need a player. We haven't played this in a couple weeks. I don't think anybody noticed that we didn't play it. But we took a little break before the All-Star.
Last game shooter.
Hold on, I have a sound effect for the sadness.
Oh no! What the hell? I don't want to know why you have that at the ready.
Hold on, it goes with this one.
Oh no!
Anyway, they didn't play that at any of the stadiums. All right, Serena's in. Serena, you are representing the Thunder, who is in first place in this little game with a 15, 1 point ahead of Stash, another point ahead of Schoolie, and
Oh,
then
no.
I am way behind. So what we're gonna do is the last time we played this, nobody earned any points. We talked about All-Star MVP. Nobody guessed Kachuk. We talked about goals versus the Panthers. Nobody guessed Cooch, who had the lone goal in the 7-1 loss against the Panthers. And then we talked about saves by the goalie in that game. Nobody guessed 42 saves, which is how many Fassi had in that game. So the first question, Serena, get ready. We do play the Ducks tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Who's going to score the most goals first? The Ducks. I'll start since I'm way behind. I'll go with Hagel.
Go ahead, Stash.
Goals versus the Ducks.
Goals versus the Ducks. Stamkos.
Damn you. I'm gonna say point. Come on,
Points,
Serena.
and we need the Thunder. Where are you, Serena? Goals versus the Ducks. We'll wait for you, but we'll move on. In the meantime, we'll go with points versus the Sabres. They play the Sabres on Thursday night at 7 p.m. at Amalie Arena. By the way, like Thomas Schooley mentioned, you can use our code on SeatGeek.com for your first purchase. Get $20 off. It is WTT Pod. That stands for We the Thunder Pod. And go buy some tickets, not only for Lightning games, but really for anything. Serena says Nick Paul.
Who'd you say, Schoolie?
I said point.
Now, points versus the Sabres, points versus the Sabres, Serena. I have a feeling it's going to be a high-scoring game. So, Schoolie, who you got versus the Sabres for points? And give me a number, too. How many points are they getting?
I'm going to say Cooch and 3 points.
Dash.
Serena came in with point.
We need how many points for point?
I'm gonna say Hagel.
Hagel with
3 points.
3. I'm gonna go Hedman with 2 points.
Serena says 4 for point.
4 points for point. I like that. That means a win. All right. Red Wings, Saturday night at 8 p.m. in Detroit. Let's go with penalty minutes. And I'll start with Corey Perry.
Are we going with how many, too, or just who has the most?
Just who gets the most penalty minutes. Hope for
Go ahead, Stash.
I
think this is the game that's most likely to have some fighting in it.
Maroon for me.
I'm going to say Sergachev.
Let's take an Ian Cole. Mike's on it in the chat. Serena, Cole's out there waiting for you if you want it.
Who'd you say, Schoolie?
I said Sergey.
Sergs, that's right.
All right, Serena will get her guess in here in a second. The final game, that's right, we got 4 games before we see you next. It's going to be Sunday evening in Pittsburgh, 6 p.m.
She says maroon.
Didn't you say maroon?
I said maroon.
Can't pick maroon, Serena.
So saves versus the Pens. I'm guessing it might be actually. We don't know who the goalie's going to be for this game, but it could be Moose because this is a back-to-back game, second half, but they could start Moose versus the Wings. So we don't know who the goalie's going to be, but how many saves will the goalie get in that game, Thomas Schooley?
It's against Pittsburgh. They've been kind of doing low. I'm going to say 32.
32, Stash.
27.
27. I'm gonna go with 20. I'll go with 30. We'll just split you guys right down the middle. In Serena, we still need a penalty versus wings, penalty minutes versus wings, and saves versus the Pens for the Lightning goalie. All right. Anything else you guys want to cover this week? Don't forget, we're going to overtime. So if you don't follow Shooter in the Stash over on the YouTube, we only do overtime on YouTube. And we might talk a little about the show. We might talk more hockey. We might talk about, I don't know.
She picks Chernak.
Pregnant Rihanna at the Super Bowl. We didn't talk about that.
Ernak.
She picks Chernak and
saves. How many times are they going to be saved?
Anything else happened this week that we missed?
Not really. It's good to have them finally home tomorrow. I think Emily's going to be rocking, and it's going to be pretty loud because we haven't seen them in quite a while. Congrats to Greg Wolf doing a good job down over there in Carolina.
Stadium Series game.
For the Stadium Series game.
Yep.
And then we mentioned, Serena, we're waiting for how many saves you think the goalie's going to get against Pittsburgh. 35.
35.
So the Stadium Series looked great, and we rated those jerseys a couple weeks ago. I thought both the jerseys looked really good.
The whole kit, dude. Again, and that's one thing I think we got to start paying attention to is we got to wait and reserve our judgment until we see the game day kit complete with the helmets, the socks, the whole nine. Because I'll tell you what, those helmets from Carolina, whew, man, huge fan. Those things were sick. Just like I thought the Lightning's helmets last season were really the cherry on top of the chef's kiss. That was it for Carolina too. Those helmets were fucking banging.
Hey Steve, Steve's wanting to give away tickets, but I'm thinking maybe we should do that on Twitter or something because we don't have that many. We don't have that many people here tonight, Steve. So if you want to give them to, send them to either Shooter or myself or Stash or something, we can give them away on Twitter and do some kind of contest on Twitter, something like that. But we did mention our guest tonight that Jay had to reschedule. If you guys haven't followed him on social media, then you guys don't know. But if you do follow him on social media, we just want to say that we're here for Jay. And I know all of Bolts Nation is here for Jay. I saw a lot of outpouring for him. So that's all we want to really say about it because it's Jay's story to tell when he wants to tell it and what he's already told, but we are with him. So
for sure. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a fun Monday night, a little slow, but we will be over on YouTube if you want to chit chat some more. Until then, or until next week, this has been We the Thunder. Don't forget to be the Thunder.
That's it?